Hi, my name is Nancy. I'm a retired teacher, an educator, a lifelong learner, a gardener, a mother, a grandmother, and I'm also the author of this newly published book, Keeping Kids and Teens Safe and Happy, Helpful Tips for Parents and Grandparents. I was motivated to write this book to try to help prevent childhood accidents, preventable accidents, and also for teenagers. So I'm trying to raise awareness, and the reason I'm so passionate about this subject is because all too often there are accidents involving backyard swimming pools, natural water environments where children get into trouble near water. Parents have to be very alert, never leave children near water, even for a moment. And I'm trying to raise awareness, and I need your help, because if you help me, we can save a lot of children's lives. When I first wrote this book, I said, if it saves one child's life and I had made a difference, it will have been worth all the effort and time I put into writing this book. And it did take a lot of time and a lot of effort. It's over 300 pages. The book took on a life of its own. I didn't expect it to be so in-depth as it became. But there were so many important topics that I needed to cover, and I didn't want to leave anything out. And so I'm going to review today something that I've spoken about before because it's so important. And the first part of the book has how to keep kids safe, and the second part of the book has how to keep kids engaged and happy and fulfilled. But from the first part of the book, and I've spoken about this before, accidents from falling, chapter 43, is very, very common. The harsh truth is that falls are dangerous and the leading cause of injury to children. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 8,000 children are injured every day in the United States from falls. Approximately 2.2 million children under the age of 14 are treated in hospital emergency rooms every year for injuries due to falling. So be very mindful when children are playing on playground equipment, walking up and down stairs, and be attentive to clutter on the floor, such as toys or gadgets. Safety gates should be installed at the top and bottom of stairs. Staircases should have banisters on either side. And remind children to hold on to banisters as they go up and down. Children as well as adults trip over rugs, so always make sure rugs are secured to the floor with rug pad grippers or non-slip rug pads. Also, when traveling, make sure that you check out in the environment, the new environment where your children are. Make sure that there are no balconies or open windows when you go to someone's house. So you have to be very, very diligent about this. And I've spoken in depth about this topic. I just wanted to review it because it really hits home. As I mentioned in another show, my son lost his best friend a few years ago, a young man in his 30s, to a fall. And it was very, very tragic for the family and for everyone, his friends and his family. And also on each show, because the topics I'm going to be covering are so hard to hear, they were hard to write about. As I explained in another show, I couldn't write after 5 p.m. and the reason was that I couldn't sleep sometimes thinking about all of these potential hazards if there are. So I just going to always add a human interest story just to lighten up the show. So I thought I would talk about today my first teaching job. When I graduated college, my first teaching job was at Our Lady of Peace Daycare Center in Brooklyn. It was on the grounds of Our Lady of Peace Church, but it was non-sectarian, which means it wasn't affiliated with any religion. It was located in a small Italian-American enclave near Carroll Street between 3rd and 4th Avenues in downtown Brooklyn. It was a fascinating neighborhood, walking distance to Park Slope and all the historic brownstones that were there. I happened to work with some close friends. I knew them from college, so that was amazing. And I'm still friends today with Jean and Ray and Mary. They're still my good friends today. So we used to take trips to Prospect Park. If you're familiar with that area of Brooklyn, you'll know there's a huge, beautiful park called Prospect Park. And we would take the children in our school and our daycare center on a day trip to the park. We would pack lunches and drinks, and we would walk there. We would walk through neighborhoods, 3rd Avenue, 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue. At the time, those areas were not gentrified. Now they are all gentrified. That's a very trendy area of Brooklyn now. A lot of people move there from all over the world. They just love it there. So it was a very interesting neighborhood at the time, and it's still very interesting and diverse today. In the late 70s, it was diverse. People from all different religions, nationalities, ethnic groups lived there. So thinking back to those days, we would take those long walks when we'd have picnics and giving the children room to run. I learned a lot. I had taken sociology classes in college, and it was very interesting to move from that little Italian enclave where the school was and then move into those different neighborhoods. So it was a very, very enlightening and enriching time of my life, and I just loved it. And as I said, I'll always include stories because human beings love stories, and I want you to know a little bit about me so that you will help me in this endeavor that I have on this mission I'm on to save children's lives. So now I'll introduce a topic from the first part of the book, and part 1 is keeping kids safe. And what I'm going to discuss now is chapter 47, keeping tools and power equipment away from children. Be alert when using them. As with all these suggestions, I am stating the obvious. These are reminders. Keep all the different types of tools you own, construction and gardening, out of the reach of children and locked safely away. Be especially careful with power tools of any type, as well as drills, hammers, chisels, axes, saws, screwdrivers, wrenches, and all other tools used by adults. Never walk away and leave a tool or power equipment unattended, even for a moment if children are at home. Never leave power equipment running, even for a short time. Children are sometimes not exactly where you think they are. Keep all power equipment away from children. Lawn mowers, snow blowers, leaf vacs, lawn vacuums, leaf blowers, chipper shredders, and any other equipment you have for lawn care or house care. Safely stored and away from children. When mowing the lawn, using a snowblower or any other power equipment, keep children inside the house. Never leave lawn mowers or other power equipment running. Always shut them off when unattended, even for a few minutes. Lawn mowers can throw rocks, sticks, or other debris, which is why it is advised children stay indoors when using a lawn mower. Anytime you or your landlord hires workmen or landscapers, keep children inside. Or if a project is within the house or apartment, go out for the day. Keep children away from construction work or landscaping crews. Be not mindful of noise levels, as loud noises can cause anxiety for children and potentially hurt their ears and hearing. Also, if you keep exercise equipment in the house or apartment, make sure children are kept away from equipment. If an older child or teenager has permission to use exercise equipment in your home, make sure they are aware that young children should not be nearby while they are exercising. Unplug equipment when not in use. So as I said, these are just reminders, but unfortunately children have been hurt by tools and power equipment. So you have to really be careful with them. And now I'm going to talk about a chapter from the back of the book, and that is how to keep kids happy, engaged, healthy. And one of the ways, chapter 9 in the back of the book, is encourage creative activities. Creativity takes courage. That's a quote from Henri Matisse, the famous French painter, sculptor, and printmaker. And the following quote is from Maya Angelou, the American poet and author. And she wrote, "You can't use up creativity. The more you use, the more you have," which is so true. That's why I journal every day, because I'm hoping to increase my creativity. There have been many studies that support the findings that when you journal, you open up your creativity. And so I try to do that every day because I want to be a more creative person. And now I'm reading from this chapter. By providing craft materials, including paper, washable markers, colored pencils, crayons, paints, coloring books, and other supplies, you can encourage creativity and help foster positive self-image and confidence in children. I purchased scrapbooking square paper for my granddaughters, and I was amazed at how many things we were able to make with that paper. We made this long paper chain, which delighted them. We've made art books using stickers, wrapping paper, cut-up magazine, markers, glue sticks, and tape. They've made collages and decorations. And I've done this with them, and I see how much joy and happiness it brings to them. We've done painting projects together. They've painted simple wooden decorations for holidays. We make bead bracelets and other fun jewelry. I always cover my table with a plastic tablecloth and place all the craft supplies on the table and just let them create. I also put on classical music because some studies suggest that classical music fosters creativity as well, and it has a calming effect as well on them. So we listen to classical music and we create. I provide them with ideas sometimes, but sometimes I just let the ideas flow from them. It's fun, relaxing, and rewarding for them. As they get older, the crafts we create will be more intricate and involved, as it is a positive experience and activity for us to share together. I purchased a book on how to make jewelry, and I'm going to save it. And in the future, as they get older, we'll make jewelry together. So think about ways to foster creativity with your children or your grandchildren or your godchildren, whatever children are in your lives. When they're with you, try to foster creativity. Do they like to paint? Think about going to an art store and purchasing a few small canvases and give them some acrylic paints and let them express themselves through painting. Some children might enjoy playing with clay, working with clay. Explore different materials, from traditional paints to pastels or ink. Collages are fun to make, and they can use different objects, cut up magazines, fabric, objects they find outside, leaves and different things like that from nature, and make collages. So there's many different ways that you can encourage creativity in your children. I always encouraged it with my own children, and my son now, as a hobby, likes to paint. And for my birthday last year, he painted me a beautiful oil painting. It's very similar to Jackson Pollock's work. So I love Jackson Pollock's work. I love art in general. And so he painted me this beautiful painting that I have hanging in my dining room. And I just love it. And he did that. So you give your children an opportunity to develop their creativity. It'll increase self-esteem and confidence, and it also will just make them feel better. We feel better when we create. Perhaps in a future show, I'll have an artist on the show. I think that would be a good idea as a guest, because there's so much we can learn from making art and from talking to artists. I hope that you will consider going to my website. keepingkidsandteensafeandhappy.com, has recipes on it right now. It's a work in progress, but I have a recipe for homemade chicken soup, which is very nutritious and boosts your immune system and that of your children. I also have added a lentil soup recipe. I truly believe soups can improve nutrition, and there's some data to support that, because I always saute some onions and garlic. So we want to keep kids healthy. That's very important. There's, of course, a chapter on that in the book, and I will be talking more about that in the future. But make sure your children eat good, healthy foods, and soups are a good way to get a lot of vegetables and a lot of nutrients into a bowl of soup. So I hope you'll consider making soups and going to my website. Also, there's my email address. If you have any comments, if you have any suggestions for the show, I'd love to hear from you, so you can find that on the website as well. At the end of the show, there will always be a special dedication. This book, my book, and this TV series is dedicated to children. So I hope that you will take a few minutes at the end and just read that dedication. Some final thoughts and hope for all of us. May I live with peace, and may you live with peace. May I live with goodness, and may you live with goodness. May I be kind to others, and may you be kind to others. May I be a healing presence for others, and may you be healing presence for others. May I find meaning and purpose in my life, and may you find meaning and purpose in your life. May I remember to be grateful, and may you remember to be grateful. I would like to thank Western Connecticut Community TV for their training and ongoing support. Thank you for watching this show. See you next time.